இன்னும் மேம் வரல சார். படம் மேம் வரல.
ஓகே, அதான் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தேன். அவங்க ஏதோ சீரியஸா மேடம் வேலை பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தாங்க.
ஓகே. மேம் உஷா மேடம் மேம் வந்துட்டாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் சார்.
ஓகே. திருப்பா ஹெச்ஓடி வந்துட்டு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம் இருங்க.
Sir, good morning. Sir, voice கேக்குதா?
குட் மார்னிங் மேம். நல்லா கேக்குது மேம்.
குட் மார்னிங் மேம்.
thank you sir.
மேம் ஹெச்ஓடி மேம் வந்துட்டு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம் மேம்.
சரிங்க சார்.
சரி.
வர மாட்டேங்க. சரி நான் அனுப்பி விடுறேன். உங்களுக்கு அனுப்பி விடுறேன் சார். வாட்ஸ்அப்ல போட்டு விட்டுறவா சார்? ஆஃபீஸ்லயே போட்டு விட்டுறேன் சார் நான்.
பிரசன்னன் இன்னொரு முறை மேடம் கேட்டு பார்த்துடலாமா? ஹலோ பிரசன்னன்.
கேக்குதா சார்?
கேக்குது மேடம்.
எஸ் சார், ஷூர். 10:15 ஆயிடுச்சு. ஒரு வார்த்தை கேட்கலாம் சார்.
ஓகே.
நீங்க கேக்குறீங்களா எப்படி?
போய் பர்சனலா தான் கேட்கணும்.
ஓகே சார்.
பிரசன்னன் சார். ஹலோ.
எஸ் சார்.
கேட்டேன் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண சொல்லிட்டாங்க.
ஓகே சார்.
ஓகே. உஷா மேம். ஹலோ.
Yes, sir. I'll start, sir.
ஓகே. உஷா மேம் ஸ்க்ரீன் ஷேர் ஆயிடுச்சு மேம். நான் கொஞ்சம் இன்ட்ரடக்ஷன் சொல்லிடுறேன் மேம்.
சரிங்க சார், சொல்லுங்க சார்.
ஓகே. உங்களோட ஸ்க்ரீன் ஷேர் ஆயிடுச்சு.
ஓகே
sir. Excuse me, sir.
Right.
Sir, I request all the faculties to switch on your camera, sir. I would like to take a screenshot of this presentation. Dear faculties, please switch on your camera for a moment. Thank you all.
மேம் வந்துட்டாங்க.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Ma'am, start பண்ணிடலாமா ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning and welcome to all. I welcome to 5-day 21/11/21 to 26/11/21 FDP on influence of electromagnetic field on IoT and communication conducted by Department of EC. It's my even pleasure to thank our management, principal, vice principal and our HOD Dr. Komla James ma'am to give this opportunity to conduct such a good kind of FDP. Now I welcome to our HOD to address the FDP.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, all of you. So every semester, after the classes are over, so we are having the habit of conducting this 1 week FDP for our staff members. So in the same manner, this time also we have organized this particular FDP. So in this, we are actually concentrating on subjects like IoT, electromagnetic fields, and integrated circuits. So in this guideline, so sessions are actually planned, and our staff members, those who are well versed in those subjects, especially in those topics, they have come forward to deliver the sessions. So please attend the sessions and get the knowledge. I am sure by the end of this program, all of you will enhance your knowledge on those titles, so that we are in a very updated position with respect to handling the subjects for the forthcoming even semester of this academic year. So I am sure all of you will deliver the session. Very good preparation, and all of you will also be benefited. So thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
organizers, Mohan sir and
Thank
President
you,
sir.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
And thank you all
Okay, thank you,
the
ma'am.
faculty members, those who have come forward to deliver the various sessions in this 5 days FDP. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Today section will be handled by Dr. N. Usha Banu on Introduction to Electromagnetic Field for the morning section. Afternoon is Electrostatic Field. I am going to hand over the screen to our Usha Banu madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, now my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So, good morning, everyone. My topic of today is Introduction to Electromagnetics. So, to handle the first unit of our syllabus, 19064 electromagnetic fields. So this is the content of the presentation, and this is of course the syllabus of our subject. So it starts with electromagnetic model, units and constants, basics of vector algebra, then introduction to coordinate systems, gradient, divergence theorem, curl of a vector field, and Stokes theorem, and finally with null identities and Helmholtz equations. So these are my contents for morning session today. So the textbook for the reference of this subject is Cheng, D.K. Cheng Field and Wave Electromagnetics, and W.H. Haidt book. So most of my content is from Haidt book, so which is the standard book for reference. Sir, my PPT and voice is okay. If it is there, if anything goes wrong, please let me know. So coming to our yes, sir. Thank you. So coming to the things. So introduction to electromagnetic fields. So as we all know that electromagnetics is nothing but study of charges at rest and charges in motion, which is nothing but the electric field and magnetic field. So when we study about electrostatics, it is nothing but effect of charges at rest, and whenever there is charges in motion, that is regarding the current flow, then it becomes of a magnetic field. So the combination of your electric field and magnetic field put together is nothing but our electromagnetics. And the electromagnetics, so in first 2 units, it will be discussed with respect to that of electrostatics. Then third and fourth unit is magnetostatics, and fifth unit is electromagnetic waves. So when we study about charges at rest, it is electrostatics. Then when charges in steady DC motion, it is called as magnetostatics. And when we have waves excited by electric field and magnetic field, that is when electromagnetic waves travel perpendicular to each other, then we call it as electromagnetic waves. So this forms the basis of our subject. And before going to the top introduction to the top of our vector algebra, so the heart of electromagnetic fields lies by Maxwell's equation. So in 1860, Maxwell conceptualized the existence of electromagnetic field. So he had predicted that the EM waves travels with the velocity of light. So from there, our communication systems have elaborated, and all our wired, wireless, and all our communication systems are dependent on the existence of this Maxwell's equation property. So here, the Maxwell's equations are given for both in case of a static field. So whenever the field is independent of each other, then it is called as, when it is not varying with respect to time, then it is called as static electric field or static magnetic field. And when it is varying with respect to that of your time, it is called as your time varying electromagnetic field or our electromagnetic waves. So here Maxwell's equations are used in defining the static property of our electrostatics, and also in magnetostatics, and also the existence of the electromagnetic waves and what are all the properties that a wave should possess while it travels from one medium to that of the other medium, or from one end to that of the other end. And it also forms the basis of our optical fiber communication system. From there, our LEDs, laser source, and all our applications have been emerged. Similarly, when as a student, this electromagnetic waves he will be studying in fourth semester, basically in all our communication, where we have studied, even we have studied the same concept from our UG. So here the inputs what he should have as a basic or a prerequisite for studying this subject is circuit theory, because the postulates of your circuit theory, that is our maximum power transfer theorem, plays an important role in defining the impedance property of the electromagnetic waves, and also the Kirchhoff's law. Again, it is how the circuit, from the still our circuit theory, we will be talking in terms of a voltage and current, and when a wave is being propagated, it will be in terms of E and H. So V and I, we can measure the power. So whenever it is transmitted to the top of the load, we will be talking in terms of maximum power transfer theorem. So these things are needed as input from the for studying this subject. And when it is going to the top of the distributed communication system, that is by using your open source open element, that is a transmission line theory.
Rishabhan ma'am, voice cut ஆயிடுச்சு ma'am. Hello. Hello. Ma'am.
Ma'am.
Hello. Ma'am, voice cut ஆயிடுச்சு ma'am.
இல்ல சார், மேம் இது நெட்வொர்க் ப்ராப்ளம் போல சார்.
It is static. It does not vary with respect to the of time, and in dynamic field, both are dependent on each other. All our systems are based on our electromagnetic field property, starting from our power lines to that of a computer screen and to that of a mobile phones. All the applications, the equipments generate EM waves, and this electrostatic fields are called as static electric field, which we mean it as a time invariant field, and it is based on the static charges produced by that given distribution. That is the basic thing. So whenever we study about charges which are static in nature, then it is called as our static electrostatics. So here the magnetostatics is nothing but the studying about the property of the magnetic field. And in our communication system, or in our generally in our electrical point of view, whenever a current carrying conductor is placed in the presence of a field, there will be existing an uniform magnetic field, and the flux lines are uniformly distributed. In general, the integral over our flux line will be equal to the net flux will be equal to the of 0. So this is the concept we use in generating the static magnetic field for our discussion. So here, and when we say about our communication systems, as we all know that whenever a wave transmits from a transmitter to the top of the receiver, so the end-to-end communication is possible in such a way that they both are being tied together by the existence of the property called as a field. So field is nothing but the existence of the EM waves from our transmitter to the top of the receiver. So this EM waves propagates in the space with respect to the velocity of the light, so that we say that we are able to achieve our communication system. So the region between this transmitter and the receiver will be surrounded by a property called as a field. So coming to the top, the definition of our field is nothing but the spatial distribution of any quantity. So how we are defining the quantity with respect to the spatial distribution is called as the field. And again, we know that this field can be classified either as here scalar or a vector field. So if you are able to define only with respect to that of the magnitude value, then it is called as a scalar field. And if the field has both magnitude as well as the direction, then we call it as a vector field. So a scalar is a quantity that has only the amplitude, and a vector is a quantity which has both magnitude and the direction. And we also know what are all the examples for our scalar and vector. And now coming to our electric and magnetic fields, we assume that electric field is here and magnetic field are vector fields, and they are distributed with three spatial components in terms of our x, y, and z direction. And we assume that it varies in position and it is distributed in three-dimensional space. And when it is moving from one end to the top of the other end, there will be always the spatial degradation of some of the quantity, and it has to be represented in terms of partial differential equations and the Maxwell's equations, which plays an important role in deriving our concepts, that is a del dot B, all our property which we conclude from our electrostatic and our magnetostatic fields. So basics of our vector algebra. So coming to that of the basics, it is dot product or scalar multiplication and cross product or vector multiplication. So when we multiply two vectors, and when we take dot product, it will give you the scalar value, that is it will have only the magnitude value. And when we find our cross product, it gives the vector value. So here the definition of the dot product is given by A dot B, and it is nothing but the product of the magnitude of A and magnitude of B multiplied with magnitude of B, and the angle subtended between the two quantity is given by cos theta of AB. So here, and cosine of the angle between them is defined as a dot product. And again we know that when theta is equal to 0, the both vectors are parallel to each other. When theta is equal to 90 degree, both the vectors are perpendicular to each other. Therefore, cos theta is 0, means cos 0 will be equal to that of 1. Therefore, it will be A dot B. And if theta equal to 90 degree, cos 90 will be equal to 0. Therefore, your quantity will be equal to that of 0. So here, when we define two vectors, so in so as we know that in mathematics, the components are defined as I, J, and K. Here we will confine ourselves to the of the unit vectors in terms of Ax, Ay, and Az in all the ways. So that is the first. The vectors are represented in terms of Ax, Ay, and Az to denote the three-dimensional distribution of the given quantity. Therefore, the dot product, to define our dot product, considering the two vectors, A is equal to Ax plus Ay into Ay plus Az into Az. Similarly, B is equal to Bx into Ax plus By into Ay plus Bz into Az. We say that A dot B is nothing but equal to the of A multiplying Ax, the magnitude of our Ax with respect to the of A Bx, and Ay with respect to the of A By, and Az to the of A Bz. Similarly, we also know that when we have here Ax dot Ay and equal to Ay dot Az and Ax dot Az, it is equal to that of 0, since X and Y are perpendicular to each other. When we substitute cos 90 degree in our equation, that will be equal to that of 0. Therefore, you will be getting Ax dot Ay equal to Ay dot Az is equal to Ax dot Az will be equal to that of 0. Similarly, here when we say here with respect to the of our Ax dot Ax, they are both parallel to each other. Ay dot Ay and Az dot Az will be equal to the of quantity 1. And also we know that when we multiply two product, that is A dot A, it will be equal to the of A modulus of A square. So this is the basis of dot product. So to illustrate the dot product rule, I have taken some example, that is given the vectors A is equal to 3Ax minus Ay plus 8Az, and vector B equal to 2Ax plus 3Ay minus Az. So the dot product is given by A dot B. So we know that it is nothing but 3Ax minus Ay plus 8Az dot 2Ax plus 3Ay minus Az Therefore, it is nothing but multiplying with the ax dot ax will be equal to 1. Similarly, ay dot ay will be equal to 1 and az dot az will be equal to 1. So when we multiply the magnitude value, it will be equal to the top 3 into 2 plus minus 1 into 3 plus 8 into minus 1, and this value is equal to the top 0. And when we say the modulus of a, it is nothing but equal to the top root of 3 square plus 1 square plus 8 square, which is root 74. Similarly, modulus of b is nothing but equal to the top root of 4 plus 9 plus 1, and it is equal to 14. And we want to find the theta. So coming back to our formula, cos theta is nothing but equal to a dot b divided by modulus of a dot b. So cos theta is equal to cos inverse of a dot b divided by modulus of a into b. Therefore, which is nothing but cos inverse of a dot b we have found in this previous step, and modulus of a is nothing but equal to root 74 and modulus of b equal to root 14. Therefore, we get theta equal to 98.93. So this is the thing for discussing of our scalar product. Similarly, when we come to the top of a cross product, so by the definition of the cross product, so whenever we take scalar product of any function, it is very sure that we will be getting only a scalar value. And when we find a cross product, so a cross product is given by the definition of the cross product is given by a cross a dot b into the top sine of the angle between the given vectors a and b, and it always carries the direction, and the direction is given by the unit vector which is normal to the top of the given vectors. Therefore, it is designated as an unit vector. So as we all know that whenever we take cross product, it's a vector, it will have direction. Therefore, this direction should be defined by the unit vectors. Therefore, we say that so in terms of our magnetic field, whenever we do problems, it will be in terms of our cross product, and when we do solve problems under our electrostatics, it will be in terms of our dot product or our scalar product. That is what I want to tell you. Out of this, we want to conclude. So again, for taking the example of two vectors, a is equal to ax minus 5ay plus 2az, and vector b is equal to 3ax minus ay minus 4az, and we know that a cross b is given by, so it's the cross product, so ax, ay, az, then 1 minus 5 2, 3 minus 1 4. So when we solve this, we will be getting in terms of a cross b is equal to 22ax plus 10ay plus 14az. Similarly, modulus of a cross b is nothing but equal to the top root of 22 square plus 10 square plus 14 square, which is nothing but equal to the top 780. And we know that by the definition of a cross b, it is nothing but equal to the top a modulus of a into modulus of b into sin theta into unit vector. Therefore, the given unit vector in the direction is given by a cross b divided by modulus of a cross b. So we have already found what is the value of a cross b, and by modulus of a cross b, which gives the unit vector lying normal to the top of the given two vectors a and b. Yes, is it clear? Shall I move? Any doubt? Yes, can we move? Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you. So here, so when verify the two vectors, a is equal to 4ax minus 2ay plus 2az, and vector b is equal to minus 6ax plus 3ay minus 3az are parallel to each other. So when the two vectors are parallel to each other, their cross product will be equal to the top 0. Therefore, ax, ay, az. So just substitute 4 minus 2, 2, and minus 6, 3 minus 3. Since it will be equal to the top 0. Therefore, we conclude that the two vectors are parallel to each other. So this is the thing which comes under the application of our cross product. Okay. Then next is the definition of our parameters, which is nothing but our gradient, curl, and your divergence. So here, whenever we have your gradient, so it is a differential operator. It is denoted by del, and del is a differential operator, and it is given by dou by dou x into ax plus dou by dou y into ay plus dou by dou z into az. So here we are going to have the value as the differential parameter. So always this differential parameter is given by a value of a del. So this del is defined in terms of a vector quantity, that is dou by dou x into ax plus dou by dou y into ay plus dou by dou z into az. So whenever we have a scalar field and when we multiply it with respect to that of a scalar function, suppose if phi is your scalar function, then the rate of change of this scalar value phi with respect to that of the spatial coordinates or with respect to the distance is defined as our gradient. So del dot phi is nothing but equal to, so phi is here scalar quantity and dou by dou x is our vector quantity, and whenever we find the dot product of our del dot phi, it will give you a scalar value. So that is what we have to observe from our gradient notation. So del dot d or we will find in terms of our electric flux density, and we will say that this electric flux density will be equal to that of the charge, that is del, when there is a change in the electric flux density in the given spatial coordinates. Finally, we will be evaluating our charge q, that is what our divergence theorem will relate. So before going to the top of our fields, just a basic introductory of our gradient. So the gradient of a given field is given by the scalar function phi is given by either dou by dou x into ax plus dou by dou y into ay plus dou by dou z multiplied with respect to the top of the function, whatever it is given at that time. So generally it denotes the rate of change of that scalar field with respect to the top of the spatial coordinates, either it may be a distance. Okay, so this is the thing what we want to find, and here to take the example to define the gradient. So find the gradient of the scalar system t is equal to x squared y plus e power z at the given point 1, 5, -2, and we know that by the definition of a gradient of t, here t is our scalar system and it is being denoted by x squared y plus e power z. Therefore, we can write in terms of dou by dou x into ax into t plus dou by dou y into ay t, the function which is varying is given by t, and similarly dou by dou z into t into az. So when we find the partial derivative of this function, we all know the function is varying only with respect to the defined parameter, and other terms are treated as constant. So when we differentiate this equation partially with respect to the top x, so only x is varying. Therefore, x to x squared, if we differentiate, it will be equal to the top 2x, and the other constant which is nothing but y. So 2xy into ay plus. Similarly, when we differentiate this equation with respect to the top y, it is nothing but equal to x squared. Y, when we differentiate y once, it is nothing but equal to 1. Therefore, x squared into ay, and e power z will be 0. And similarly, it is the e power z into az is nothing but, when we differentiate this equation with respect to the top z, it is equal to e power z into the top az. And coming to our point of substitution, that is, it is given here 1, 5 and -2. So when we substitute this, we get the function which is nothing but equal to 10ax plus ay plus e power -2 into az. So this is the problem what we have for our to find the gradient of the scalar system. Similarly, whenever a field is diverging from the source, we want to define a parameter called as divergence. So this divergence produces a scalar quantity, and it will give the field which is distributed from the given source. Suppose if we define a vector ax, ay and az, and we are finding the rate of change of that vector with respect to that of the spatial coordinates. Since it is our divergence del dot a, it is del is nothing but our differential parameter. So dou by dou x, dou by dou y plus dou by dou z, and the vector what we have defined is nothing but our ax, ay and az, and we are going to define the variation of this vector in terms of our given thing. So in general, divergence defines the net outward flow of flux of the vector field with respect to the given position. Suppose if you have a positive, and divergence can be measured in terms of our so it is nothing but the diverging nature of the given field is defined by the term divergence. So here, when we say your vector field as your electric flux density D, then we are going to find the divergence of the vector field. That is nothing but equal to that of a del dot D, which defines that it is nothing but the net outward flow of the flux of the vector field D. Suppose the charge, if you are able to, when we evaluate this flux density, when we say that the charge is distributed and when the field is moving away from the source, it is called as the positive divergence, and field is moving diverging to the top of the source, then it is called as negative divergence. And when they are moving parallel to each other, we define it as our zero divergence. So from this divergence, we get our divergence theorem in our second unit, and actually that will be covered. Introduction is given here itself. Okay. So here, when we want to determine the divergence of the vector field, the field here for a given for our observation is x squared yz into ax plus xz into az. So we want to evaluate del dot p, which is nothing but the divergence of the given vector field. So dou p x by dou x plus dou py by dou y plus dou pz by dou z. So where px is nothing but equal to the top x squared yz, and py is equal to 0, and pz is nothing but equal to xz. So we want to partially differentiate this quantity with respect to the top x, y and z. Therefore, we say that dou by dou x of x squared by z is nothing but equal to the top 2xyz. Similarly, dou by dou y of 0, py quantity is anyway 0, so it is 0, and dou by dou z of xz is nothing but, so when we partially differentiate this equation with respect to the top xz, so z is the varying quantity, therefore we will be getting x. So with this we get our value of our divergence of the given field, which we can evaluate for the anything. Okay, and the curl is nothing but the rotational moment of the field around the given surface is called as the curl. So here whenever we say it is a curl, it carries a direction. Therefore, we always find the cross product of this quantity. Therefore, del cross A is nothing but equal to the top Ax, Ay and Az. And since it is a cross product of the del function, therefore dou by dou x, dou by dou y and dou by dou z. And the vector quantity what we have defined is our Ax, Ay and Az. So if you find this del cross A, and if it is equal to the top 0, then it is called as a irrotational field. Okay, and if it is not equal to 0, if it is not equal to 0, that is if you have some value, then it is called as the rotational field. So always when we find in terms of our magnetic field, we always go for our Stokes theorem, and the Stokes theorem is based on the curl property. So here, so when a field is given, we can evaluate the nature of the field. Either it can be our solenoidal field or our irrotational field, depending from the value.
Ma'am?
Ma'am? Usha ma'am?
Audible, ma'am? Yes, sir.
Ma'am, network problem போல இருக்குப்பா.
Yes,
I
yes.
think it's
to x, y and z. So voice is okay?
okay, ma'am. Network issue வந்துட்டே இருக்கு ma'am.
ஆமாங்க sir.
Okay, okay.
No, sir.
Okay.
X, y and z, we get it is if we see the function is partially varying with respect to x alone, therefore we don't have any quantity with respect to x. Therefore the other quantity will be treated as constant. Therefore 0 plus 0 plus 0, therefore del cross H is equal to 0. Okay, and again one more problem. If the magnetic field is given and evaluate the constant value of alpha when the field is solenoidal, and we know that when it is solenoidal, it is del dot B will be equal to the top 0. Therefore, del dot B is equal to dou by dou x into Bx plus dou by dou y into By plus dou by dou z into Bz. Therefore, when we evaluate this function, it is nothing but equal to the top 25 plus 12 plus alpha, where alpha is nothing but equal to that of minus 37. So this is just an example to show the field, the nature of the field. Either it can be our solenoidal field or our rotational field. Then the next concept in our unit 1 is orthogonal coordinate system. We call it as orthogonal coordinate system. Why? Because this when we have our three-dimensional coordinates, that is our x, y and z, all these coordinates are perpendicular to each other. Therefore, it is orthogonal, and this has here three-dimensional space, and we have three types of coordinate system. Basically, which is our Cartesian coordinate system, cylindrical coordinate system and spherical coordinate system. Before going to the top of our discussion, we have to make clear that we have our three-dimensional space, which is nothing but x, y and z. Okay, and we have to denote in terms of our x here and y and z. Okay, then here it has our unit vectors, which is defining the direction of the given field in terms of ax, ay and az. Okay, these are the unit vectors given by the given field. And again, when we denote a point P, we are able to find the position vector of the given point from the given. Suppose if I define here a point P, and with respect to that of the origin 0, if I am able to write the given vector in terms of a position vector, then the position vector defines the position of your point P. Suppose if we define here the point is 2, minus 3, 5, then 2ax minus 3ay plus 5az is given by the position vector of the given point. Okay, so here this is the thing we define for our given point, that is a position vector defines the position of a point in space. Similarly, the three reference vectors are called as our base vectors. That is, the base vectors are nothing but our ax, ay and az. All are mutually perpendicular to each other. Therefore, it is called as our orthogonal coordinate system. And whenever we define a field point P, suppose this point P can be defined either in terms of our Cartesian coordinate system, or it can take the cylindrical, because all our coaxial cable all will be in terms of our cylindrical in nature, and we also have a spherical coordinate system to define our antenna parameters. So here all these terms, these are the basic dimensions what we can confine ourselves when we calculate it mathematically regarding the nature of the any field. Therefore, we convey confirm that our fields can be either in terms of our three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, cylindrical coordinate system, or the spherical coordinate system. Okay, so here when we define a point in Cartesian coordinate system, we have it is called as our three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, and here x, y and z, and the value of our x is the range of coordinates of our x will be in from minus infinity to the top of plus infinity. Similarly, y can be from minus infinity to plus infinity, and z can be from minus infinity to plus infinity. And suppose if we keep x as constant here, that is assuming that I am standing here, suppose we are here, okay, and if you see at the other end, it will be like a plane, that is YZ plane, and the direction will be given by our AX unit vector. Similarly, if you see here y is a constant, suppose if I stand over here, what is the other thing we will be noting here is our XZ plane. Therefore, the direction will be given by our AY unit vector. Similarly, if we stand in the top and see on the other thing, it will be nothing but our XY plane, and the unit vector will give the direction where we are standing, that is our AZ unit vector. Therefore, we get a concept of a plane. Therefore, here when we define a point in our XYZ coordinates, we need to define the point P as the intersection of the three coordinates X, Y and Z, and also we will have a plane. And also when we increase in all the three axes, we will be getting in terms of our volume. So coming first to the top of our point rotation. So a point in rectangular coordinate system is represented as x is equal to constant plane or y is equal to constant plane. That is, x is equal to constant means it is parallel to that of YZ plane. That is what I was discussing in the previous thing. Similarly, when we keep y as a constant, it is parallel to that of our XZ plane. And similarly, when we keep Z as a constant, then it is nothing but equal to that of here parallel. The plane will be parallel to that of our XY plane. So this is how we can denote a point at the mutually perpendicular direction of the three things. We are defining a point P. That is, P is defined in terms of our x comma y comma z. So when the intersection of these three values, so at our xy plane, xz plane and our yz plane, will define a point, and that is given by the coordinates of the point, which we define as x1, y1 and z1. So this is how we define a point P. And again, and this point P in terms of our coordinate is defined in terms of intersection of our three axes, x, y and z axis. Therefore, the point P, if I denote it as point P of 1, 2, 3, which means that x is nothing but equal to that of the coordinate of x will be equal to that of 1, coordinate of y will be equal to that of 2, and coordinate of z will be equal to that of 3. Similarly, when we define q as 2, minus 2, 1, it is nothing but equal to that of coordinate of x will be equal to that of 2. Okay, coordinate of x will be equal to that of 2, and y will be equal to that of minus 2. So minus 1, minus 2 here we have defined, and similarly here z will be equal to that of 1. So this is how we define a point in our Cartesian coordinate system. Okay, so here and here this point is not a constant. Okay, we know that whenever a field is propagating, surely it will move along with respect to that of the distance. Therefore, this x will be given an incremental distance, that is x plus dx, and y will be given an incremental distance which is nothing but y plus dy, and similarly our z will be given an incremental distance which is nothing but equal to that of your dz. Therefore, we get it as differential distance or differential length in x, y and z direction, that we are going to denote it as dx, dy and dz. Yes. So now we have defined a point in the rectangular coordinate system, and when we increase this point in the differential length, that is our x plus dx, y plus dy and z plus dz, we get our differential length in x, y and z direction. Therefore, dx, dy and dz. Therefore, dx is given by differential length in x direction, dy will be given by differential length in y direction, and dz is given by differential length in z direction. Therefore, the differential length can be represented as a vector that is given by dl is equal to dx into ax plus dy into ay plus dz into az. And when we find the modulus of this value, it is nothing but equal to that of root of dx square plus dy square plus dz square. So this is the, so from the definition of a point, we have defined a distance. So this distance will be again moving in all the three directions, that is dx, dy and dz. From there we define as this quantity as a differential length. So differential length is again a vector which is given by dx ax plus dy ay plus dz az, and then we can say that this differential length will have a surface area where when we keep our x as a constant, that is differential surface area normal to the top x direction. So when we keep x as a constant, it is nothing but when x is constant, it will be equal to the top here dy and dz. Okay, so dy and dz. So since here x is constant, therefore we are defining a differential surface area. So point we have defined, differential length we have defined, and from the differential length we are getting the property of we are defining again a differential surface. So the differential surface is nothing but equal to the top here surface area means is nothing but we will have two quantity. Therefore, and one will give you the direction where you are going to measure the thing. Therefore, when the differential vector surface area, when we measure normal to the top x direction, the other planes will be our dy and dz. Therefore, dsx is nothing but equal to the top dy z into ax. Similarly, dx dsy is nothing but equal to that of normal to that of y direction. Therefore, what are the other two planes that will be remaining out is our dx and dz. Similarly, when we measure with respect to the top z direction, it is nothing but equal to the top of our dx and dy az. Therefore, we conclude that the differential vector surface area will be normal to the top of the direction where we are going to measure. From that, we can define the surface area of the given planes, and from there we get the area in terms of a meter square. Okay, and when we put increase in all the three directions, so we will be defining in terms of it will be moving in when we say it is x to dx, similarly y to dy, similarly from z to dz. So in all the three directions it will be moving, and when we say here it will be looking like a rectangular parallelepiped. Therefore, the volume will be given by dx, dy and dz. Therefore, the volume will be given by dx, dy and dz. So, in general, a vector in a rectangular coordinate system can be represented as vector A is equal to ax into ax plus ay into ay plus az into az. So, this is what is the thing, and we can define a surface area for this given vector, and we can define a volume enclosed in the given region by means of our dx, dy and dz property. Okay, and also we say that there exists an orthogonal unit vectors from our dimension. It is ax, ay and az. This is the case for our rectangular coordinate system. Okay, and vector representation in Cartesian. So for the same example what we have discussed, if you want to find the distance between the two vectors, suppose we have defined a point P as 1, 2, 3 and point Q as 2, minus 2, 1, and find the vector distance between RPQ is nothing but equal to RQ minus RP, and that is given by the RPQ is equal to RQ minus RP, which is equal to the top 2 minus 1 into x plus minus 2 into ay plus 1 into 1 minus 3 into az. So we can find the vector difference between the any 2 points, which is defined in terms of our Cartesian coordinate system. Therefore, in a Cartesian coordinate system, we should be able to define a vector. Suppose if it's a vector b, it is defined as bx into ax plus by into ay plus bz into az, and the magnitude of the vector is given by root of bx square plus by square plus bz square. And we also know that there will be an unit vector which gives you the direction of that field, which is given by the vector divided by its modulus. So vector b, if we define a vector b as 2ax plus 3ay plus 4az, so the vector divided by its magnitude value will define the unit vector in the given direction of b. Therefore, the general example for determining the unit vector extending from the point G as 2, minus 2, minus 1. Therefore, the vector G is given by 2ax minus 2ay minus az, and we by the definition of the unit vector, it is nothing but we are going to find the unit vector in the given direction of the vector G. Therefore, Ag, which is nothing but the vector divided by its modulus. The vector is given by 2ax minus 2ay minus az, and its modulus is nothing but equal to that of 4 plus 4 plus 1, which is nothing but 3. Therefore, 2 by 3 into ax minus 2 by 3 into ay minus 1 by 3 into az will give you the unit vector lying in the given direction of the given vector. Okay. Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. Continue.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. So coming to the top of our another example, considering the 2 points A as 2, 2, 1 and B as 3, minus 4, 2, 3, minus 4, 2, and they are defined in Cartesian coordinate system. Obtain the vector from A to B and unit vector directed from the A to B. Now it's very clear that we have seen an example. So A is nothing but, so from the axis, define it in terms of a vector. It is nothing but 2ax plus 2ay plus az. Similarly, vector b is nothing but equal to 3ax minus 4ay plus 2az. and we want to find the different distance between obtain the vector from B to A. That is here A to B, AB is nothing but equal to B minus A. Therefore, 3 minus 2 into AX plus minus 4 minus 2 into AY plus 2 minus 1 into AY. AZ, that will give the vector distance AB. Similarly, the modulus of the vector is given by root of 1 plus 6 plus 1, which is nothing but equal to that of 6.164. 1 plus 6 square plus 1, that will be equal to that of 6.1644, and we can find the unit vector in the given direction. So obtain the unit vector directed from A to B, which is nothing but equal to the vector AB divided by its modulus. So that will give the unit vector for the given vector in Cartesian coordinate system. Yes. Shall I proceed? Yes. Yes, sir.
Ma'am,
I have one.
signal.
For AB
Yes,
vector, we should not use A dot B cos theta. We have to go with this formula: B vector minus A vector, right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. We
What is the difference?
obtain the vector. So suppose if you draw the free body diagram for the given points. So this is our A point, okay, sir, and this is our B point, okay. And the given thing is nothing but A is given as some value, 2, 2, some values, okay, sir. So they are asked to find the vector from B to A. So the only thing we can find is nothing but here B minus A. Suppose if you are asked to find the parallel nature or a perpendicular nature of the given vector, then we can go in for a dot product or a scalar product, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, wow.
Thanks,
So
ma'am.
here only the points are given. So we want to find the vector distance between from A to B. So surely it is nothing but the 2 points are located in space. We are finding the distance only between the 2 points, sir. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Shall I proceed, sir? So
Yes.
this problem I will come after discussing our cylindrical coordinate system. Okay. And next is our cylindrical coordinate system. So here we know that whenever we have our Cartesian coordinate system x, y, and z, okay, and in this Cartesian coordinate system, assume that we are placing a cylinder, and I think we can assume a cylinder. So here this is our x, y, and z, okay, and this is our 3-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system, and in this we are placing a cylinder. Assume that we have a cylinder which is placed, and we also know that to define a cylinder, suppose if you assume a cylindrical box or cylindrical thing, suppose if a gas cylinder or anything which is of cylindrical in shape, what are the parameters we need to define that cylinder is nothing but our radius r. We need to have our r value, and we want to define the height of the cylinder and the location where we are placing that cylinder in our spatial coordinates, that is our Cartesian coordinate system x, y, and z. Okay, and based on this, a point P in our cylindrical coordinate system are defined in terms of our r, phi, and z. Okay, so what is our r is nothing but equal to that of our radius of the cylinder. Okay, and the height of the cylinder, since we are placing this cylinder on z-axis, whatever height that it is being defined with respect to our z-axis will be called as a height of the cylinder. Therefore, it is z, and it makes an angle of phi. So when we place this cylinder on our Cartesian coordinate system x, y, z, it makes an angle of phi, and this phi is called as the azimuthal angle. We have to axial angle and our azimuthal axial symmetry and here azimuthal symmetry. Axial symmetry is nothing but when we move top and bottom, that will not change. That we will discuss in our next in afternoon class. And we have a azimuthal angle, which is nothing but the angular variation will be here, and it is equal to the top of our phi. Therefore, to define a point in cylindrical coordinate system, we are defining in terms of 3 values, which is nothing but our r, phi, and z, where r is nothing but the radius of the cylinder and phi is nothing but the angle with which the cylinder makes with respect to the top of the x-axis, and similarly z is nothing but equal to the top the height of the cylinder. Therefore, we want to see what are all the limits. So this is the three-dimensional rotation of the given thing what we were discussing now. So here when we keep rho as a constant, in some book r is given as radius r, or it can be a rho. Both defines the term radius of the coordinates, that is here rho or phi, both are equally same. Okay, therefore when we keep rho as a constant or our radius as a constant, we are sure that we will be drawing a circular area, that is our top portion of our cylinder. Similarly, when we keep here phi as a constant, it is a given angle, and we are going to define it as a length now. I will see how we are going to define it as a length. Then Z is nothing but equal to the height of the cylinder. So when we say our upper and lower limit of our rho is nothing but the radius, which is can be from 0 to the top infinity, and phi is nothing but an angle. It is our varying from 0 to 2 pi. And Z is nothing but the height. It can be from plus infinity to that of minus infinity. Therefore, minus infinity to plus infinity. So, these are the range of coordinates of the given point in cylindrical coordinates. Yes, shall I proceed? Is it any doubt? So, rho, phi and Z. So, rho defines the radius, and phi is nothing but the azimuthal angle, and it is a full angle which is 0 to 2 pi. Similarly, Z is nothing but equal to the top here, minus infinity to the top, the plus infinity. So again, we are going to keep 1 as a constant. We will get a plane, and when we move in one direction, that is our d rho or d phi or dz, we will get the length. And when we have three mutually perpendicular direction, we will get a volume. All the concepts, whatever we have discussed for our Cartesian coordinate system, holds good for our cylindrical coordinate system also. So here, to define a point in our cylindrical coordinate system, so this is how we define a point in the three mutually perpendicular direction of our rho, phi and z. We are defining a point, and we know that with reference to that of the point, we will be having the base vectors or the unit vectors.
மேம் லைன்ல இருக்கீங்களா? ஹலோ ஹலோ மேம். Hello.
Seen that when we define, when we give a, when we have our rho, and if I change it to the top of a distance d rho, we get our differential length in our rho direction, which is nothing but d rho. Similarly, when we keep our z, and when we give an incremental distance to the top here dz, which is nothing but equal to that of a differential length, which is equal to that of our dz. Similarly, when we keep our phi as a constant, and again here, if our phi is a constant, and we know that this phi is, we are varying with respect to the top of our angle. So here, so the angle variation is given by a d phi, okay, and we want to equate it to a length here. So d phi is our angular variation, and it is subtended with the radius r, okay, and we know that by our maths concept, that is it's like a sector in the given circle, and it the length of this is given by equal to the top of our r d phi. So here, when we change with respect to the top of phi plus d phi, it is equal to the top of our angle, okay, phi plus d phi. Actually, if we assume, if we are giving an incremental distance with respect to the top of the angle, and this angle, if you see here, we cannot confine it to the top of the given thing, and it is given by d phi, and this d phi is dependent upon the value of our r, which is nothing but equal to the top of r d phi. Therefore, we get in terms of our length. Therefore, the three coordinates differential length are given by d rho, dz, and rho into d phi. I have taken it as r, so both are same. So r into d phi. So this defines the differential length in our cylindrical coordinate system, which is nothing but our d rho, dz, and rho into d phi. Therefore, and we when we have our volume, it is nothing but equal to the top of our dx dy dz. Similarly, here instead of our dx dy dz, we have here it as d rho dz and rho d phi. Therefore, the volume will be equal to the top here rho d rho and d phi and dz. So this gives our differential volume in cylindrical coordinate system. So again, whatever we have discussed here, so to define a point, it is nothing but equal to that of rho, phi and z in cylindrical coordinate system. The differential length in rho direction is given by d rho, which is nothing but differential length in rho direction. Similarly, the differential length in phi direction is given by rho into d phi. And similarly, the differential length in z direction is given by our dz. So this defines the differential length in our cylindrical coordinate system. Similarly, when we have our differential length, I can write it as a vector. We can write it as a vector, which is given by d rho into a rho plus rho into d phi into a phi plus dz into az. Therefore, the modulus of this given length is given by modulus of dl, which is nothing but equal to that of d rho square plus rho into d phi square plus dz square. And again, when we have here a differential surface area normal to the top of our arrow direction. So here, what are all the length we have? So the lengths are nothing but our d rho, rho d phi, and dz direction. So when we have here the dz and the unit vectors correspondingly are nothing but equal to the top of our arrow unit vector, a phi unit vector, and az unit vector. So a phi unit vector and az unit vector. So we want to find the differential surface area normal to the top of our arrow direction. That is, we keep our radius as a constant. So what are all the other thing which is other surfaces that are there? It is nothing but equal to the top of rho d phi and dz. Therefore, the differential surface area normal to the top of the radius rho is given by rho into d phi into dz into arrow unit vector. Similarly, when we keep phi as a constant, that is, when we find our differential surface area normal to the top of our
Ma'am, it's not audible, ma'am.
Signal problem. Personal.
Yes, sir.
to the top of the given surface. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's audible.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Now it's okay, sir.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sometimes signal
Okay,
is getting to problem.
Yes, sir. In பார்க்கிறேன் sir. மத்தியானம் class
Okay, okay, ma'am. Continue.
Okay, so here the differential volume is given by rho into, so when we find dx, dy and dz, it is nothing but equal to that of a differential volume. So which is nothing but equal to rho, d phi and dz. Therefore, we get the concept of our differential volume for our cylindrical coordinate system. Similarly, a vector in our cylindrical coordinate system, in general, a vector can be represented as a rho into a rho unit vector plus a phi into a phi unit vector plus az into az unit vector. So this is how we define our vector in our cylindrical coordinate system. Now we want to establish relationship between our x, y and z. So because when we solve our problems, we want to convert from one coordinate system to that of the other coordinate system. Suppose if we have only with respect to the top of a cylindrical parameters, we cannot come to a conclusion of what is our length in our Cartesian coordinate system. So we have to establish the relationship between our x, y, z and r, phi and z. So we know that the coordinates of our Cartesian coordinate system are given by x, y, z, and the cylindrical coordinate system is given by r, phi, z. So just we are defining a point x, comma y, comma z, and the point in our cylindrical coordinate system is given by rho, phi, z. Just we are finding the relationship between in terms of the given parameters. Also, we know that when we find our when an angle phi is subtended, we can decompose this phi in terms of our horizontal component and our vertical component. The horizontal component is given by a cos function and a vertical component is given by a sine function in terms of our radius rho. Therefore, we say that x is related to the of our radius and our angle in terms of x is equal to rho cos phi and y is nothing but equal to that of our rho sine phi. So from there we say that there exists a relationship between x to that of our rho and phi, which is given by x is equal to rho cos phi and y is equal to rho sine phi and z is equal to ez. And also we know that rho is nothing but equal to that of here root of x square plus y square, that is nothing but equal to that of rho equal to x square plus y square, and phi is equal to tan inverse of y by x and z is equal to z. So these are the relationship that exist between our Cartesian coordinate system to the top of our cylindrical coordinate system. So this we will be using in solving the problems to find the relationship between one vector to the top of the other vector. So these are the three terms that is given. Okay, and when we want to transform one coordinate of the vector to the top of the other coordinate, and we also know that when we define a vector A in Cartesian coordinate system, it is defined as ax into ax plus ay into ay plus az into az. Similarly, a vector in our cylindrical coordinate system is defined by a rho into a rho plus a phi into a phi plus az into az. Therefore, the a rho, so suppose if I want to find the component of the vector in Cartesian cylindrical coordinate system, a rho vector, and in terms of our Cartesian we are going to find, therefore a into the top of our a rho component will give you the vector a rho in our cylindrical coordinate system. Therefore ax into ax plus ay into ay plus az into az dot a rho. So we are finding the dot product of the given function ax dot a rho plus ay dot a rho plus az dot a rho, and it is equal to the top here ax into cos phi plus ay into sin phi. Similarly, when we find our component a phi in terms of the Cartesian coordinate system, multiply it with respect to the corresponding unit vector in our cylindrical coordinate system, which is nothing but a phi. Therefore, a dot a phi. Therefore, it is equal to the top minus ax into sin phi plus ay into cos phi. And similarly, when we find our az dot az, it is nothing but equal to the top a dot az, and we know that it is az dot az will be equal to the top 1. Therefore, we will be getting our value as az. So this table has to be used to convert our one vector to the top of the other vector, that is from Cartesian to the top of our cylindrical coordinate system. So we have our coordinates in our Cartesian as ax, ay and az, and similarly with respect to the top of our cylindrical coordinate system, it is a rho, a phi and az. So we want to find the dot product of ax dot a rho, ay dot a rho and az dot a rho. So ax dot a rho is nothing but equal to cos phi, ay dot a rho is nothing but equal to the top sin phi, and we don't have other component, so az will be equal to the top 0. Similarly, when we find ax dot a phi is nothing but equal to minus sin phi, and ay dot a phi is nothing but equal to the top cos phi, and the other component is anyway 0. Okay, and when we find with respect to ax dot az, it is 0. Ay dot az, it will be equal to 0, and az dot az will be equal to 1. So this is how we find our conversion from one coordinate system to the top of the other coordinate system. So here, given the points a is equal to x is equal to 2, y equal to 3 and z is equal to minus 1, and b is equal to r equal to 4, phi equal to 50 and z is equal to 2. Find the distance from a to b. So it's very clear, we want to find the distance from a to b, and we are going to find our root of x minus x1 the whole square plus y minus y1 the whole square plus z minus z1 the whole square. But here one coordinate is given in Cartesian coordinate system and another is given in cylindrical coordinate system. So surely there will be some ambiguity. We cannot find the distance between the 2 points. So best convert this point in cylindrical coordinate system to the top Cartesian coordinate system. Therefore, x is nothing but equal to the top r cos phi, y equal to, we have seen the relationship between our x, y and z. X is equal to r cos phi, y is equal to r sin phi, and z is equal to ez. Therefore, r is nothing but equal to 4 cos phi, cos minus 50 degree, which is 2.571. Similarly, y is nothing but equal to r sin phi, which is minus 3.06, and z will be equal to the top z. And when we find our x, y, z, and from these 2 points, now we can find the distance between our B to the top of our A, and therefore we will be getting our distance between the 2 points A to B, which is nothing but 2 minus 2.51 the whole square plus 3 minus 3 minus of minus, so 3 plus 3.064 the whole square plus minus 1 minus 2 the whole square, which will give you the 6.7896. So this is how we will evaluate the conversion from our Cartesian coordinate system to the top of our cylindrical coordinate system given with the any coordinate values. Yes, shall we proceed, sir? I think we'll, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Proceed.
Okay. So coming to the top of our vector B. So here, transform the given vector B into the top of the cylindrical coordinate system. So vector B is given by yax minus xay plus zaz. Therefore, this will be nothing but B rho vector. We want to find rho, phi and z. As we have discussed that it is B rho, B phi and Bz. The vector it is given as B. So B dot A rho vector, which is nothing but equal to the top y into ax dot a rho minus x into ay dot a rho plus z into the given value. Similarly, by is nothing but equal to the top here b dot a phi, which is nothing but equal to the top y into ax dot a phi minus z x into ay dot a phi. So this is expanded here, and here we know that ax dot a rho is nothing but equal to the top cos phi, so y into cos phi. Similarly, ay dot a rho is nothing but equal to sin phi, so sin phi minus x into sin phi, and we know that x is equal to rho cos phi and y is equal to rho sin phi from our relation. So substituting that rho sin phi cos phi minus rho cos phi sin phi, which will be equal to 0. Similarly, when we evaluate our b phi component, it is nothing but equal to the top here b dot b phi, and the vector is given by y into ax dot a phi minus x into ay dot a phi. Then again ax dot a phi is nothing but equal to minus sin phi, so minus y into sin phi. Similarly, ay dot a phi is nothing but equal to cos phi, so minus x into cos phi. So also we know that y is nothing but equal to the top here rho sin phi and rho cos phi, x is equal to rho cos phi. Substituting here, it is nothing but minus rho into sin squared phi minus rho into cos squared phi. So taking minus rho outside, it will be equal to the top minus rho. Therefore, the vector is nothing but equal to the top here minus rho phi plus minus rho into a phi plus z into z, az dot az will be equal to 1. Therefore, you will be having that vector as such, so which is equal to the top here plus az plus z into az. So this is how we will find the given thing. Yes? Need out? Shall we proceed?
No. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Sir, I will conclude with this, or shall I
Yes.
continue in the afternoon class, sir?
Ma'am, now time is 11:30, ma'am.
Among sir.
Yes, yes.
Shall I conclude this so that
Yes, ma'am.
the
Yes,
coordinate
ma'am.
system மட்டும் முடிச்சிட்டங்களா sir? எப்படி?
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir. I will finish off this coordinate system and remaining I will take in the afternoon session,
Okay.
sir. சரிங்களா? ஏன்னா அது இது மூணு
Okay,
முடிச்சிட்டா ஒரு இதா இருக்கும். So here,
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
when we have our spherical coordinate system, again to define a sphere, we want to define a sphere, and this sphere is placed in our Cartesian coordinate system. Assume that you have a spherical ball like thing that we have placed in our Cartesian three-dimensional Cartesian coordinate system. Therefore, to define a sphere, what are the quantity we need is we assume that we have like this. It is there. Okay, and we have a spherical region over here. Okay, and here it has okay, and here we say here it is nothing but equal to the top. To define a sphere, we need a radius r. So this is our R, and it makes an angle. So this is X, Y and Z axis. It's like when we see here, when you have an orange like thing, and if you take one pulp out of it, it will be looking like a conical structure. Okay, and we assume that it has it extends as a right circular cone with an angle of theta, which is a half circle from Z axis. So that is the value of our theta, and again phi is nothing but again the angle it makes with respect to the top of our x axis. So these are the three coordinates which are used to define a point in our spherical coordinate system, which is P of r comma theta comma phi, where r represents the sphere of radius r and theta represents the angle made by the cone with z axis, and phi is nothing but the same angle like azimuthal angle where it makes with respect to the top of our x axis. Therefore, the range of this given thing are nothing but r varies from 0 to infinity and theta varies from 0 to pi and phi varies from 0 to 2. Okay, and again to define a point P, we need to define a point in terms of our given thing. So we have a sphere of radius r, theta, which makes an conical region with respect to the top of our z axis, and it forms a plane with an angle of phi in a with x axis. Therefore, it is a plane. At these three mutually intersection regions, we are defining a point P, which is nothing but equal to the top r, theta and phi. Okay, and again the unit vectors are nothing but our AR, A phi and AZ. Okay, and the differential length are nothing but equal to the top here dr, which is equal to the top here the differential length in r direction, and d theta. So d theta is nothing but again it makes an angle of theta, d theta, and it is varying from our it's not a same, it is varying from our initial to the top of our given position. Therefore d theta we are getting, and this r d theta is nothing but the angle subtended by this value will give you the length that is nothing but equal to the top of our r d theta. Similarly, our r sin theta d phi. So when we vary our d phi, it is equal to the top the length of the radius, which is subtended by this, and we can again find in terms of our length, which is equal to the top of our r sin theta and d phi. So which gives the differential length in phi direction.
Ma'am, Asha
Sir?
ma'am,
Yeah, sir.
not audio. Yes, yes. It's over, ma'am.
இல்ல சார், நீங்க மியூட் பண்ணாதான் சார் பண்ண முடியும். Okay. Sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So here the distances, differential length are dr, r d theta and r sin theta and d phi, and the differential length in our spherical coordinate system is given by dr into ar plus r d theta into a theta plus r sin theta into d phi into a phi, and the length is equal to dr squared.
Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Shall I proceed, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So r d theta the whole square plus r sin theta into d phi the whole square. Therefore, the differential volume is given by r squared sin theta dr d theta and d phi. Okay, and again when we have our differential surface, it is when we keep our the coordinates here are nothing but dr, r d theta, r sin theta into d phi, dr into ar, r d theta into a theta, and r sin theta into a phi. So when we keep one as a constant, that is AR as a constant, the surface planes are given by a AR unit vector. The other two lengths are r d theta and r psi theta into d phi. Therefore, the surface area normal to the top, the given radius r is given by dsr, which is equal to the top r squared sin theta d phi into AR. Similarly, ds theta is nothing but equal to r sin theta d phi into the top dr. Similarly, our fi is nothing but equal to r d theta into dr. So this gives the differential surface area normal to the top of the given surface ar, a theta and a phi. Similarly, the differential volume is given by r square sin theta dr d theta and d phi. So generally, a vector is given by AR into AR unit vector plus A theta into A theta unit vector plus A phi into A phi unit vector. And coming to the top, the establishing the relationship between our x, y and z coordinates. X is equal to rho cos phi, and this rho is nothing but the radius which we define the given sphere, which is r sin theta. So rho cos phi, x is equal to r sin theta cos phi, y is equal to rho sin phi, r sin theta sin phi, and z is equal to r cos theta. Similarly, r is nothing but equal to root of a square plus x square plus y square plus z squared. Theta is equal to cos inverse of z by root of x square plus y square plus z squared, and phi is equal to tan inverse of y by x. So from this relationship, we can find the dot product rule for our ax dot ar, ay dot ar, and az dot ar. Similarly, ax dot a theta, ay dot a theta, and az dot a theta, and the other thing ax dot fi and ay dot fi and az dot fi. So with this, I think we can conclude, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
can we conclude, sir?
Yes,
Remaining, I will
yes,
take
ma'am,
in the
yes.
afternoon class, sir. Stokes
Afternoon,
theorem,
ma'am.
divergence theorem, and unit 2 electrostatic concepts. Hello. Okay.
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 Okay,
Thank
sir.
you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Usha. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am is going to give for very good introduction to the electromagnetic field. He is going to explain. She is explained for the gradient, divergence, and differential equation, coordinate system, as well as subcurve. All will be going to given for very clear and useful together. At the same time, she is going to given for the example problem also. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you,
Thank
Usha Banu, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Dear
all for
all,
listening. Thank you.
yeah, dear all, today afternoon section is going to start at 2 o'clock.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Subhashini ma'am.
சொல்லுங்க சார்.
Subhashini ma'am. ஒரு சின்ன டவுட் மேம். இப்போ எண்ட் மீட்டிங் கொடுக்கறதா எப்படி மேம்? இல்ல இப்ப ஸ்டாப் ரெக்கார்டிங் கொடுக்கலாம்ல மேம்?
இப்ப ஸ்டாப் ரெக்கார்டிங் கொடுத்துருங்க. முடிஞ்சிச்சுல நம்ம செஷன். மத்தியானம் திரும்பி ஃப்ரெஷா ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கலாம் நம்ம.
எண்ட் மீட்டிங்கும் கொடுத்துருங்க சார்.
எஸ் மேம்.
எஸ் சார்.